The chemical is used to inflate airbags in cars, and the smoke from the fire can be hazardous. So as a precaution, nearly 2,000 people have been evacuated from the area. 2 News' Marcos Ortiz was in Mona this afternoon when the word came to get out, and he begins our team report.
A deadly toxic chemical quickly engulfed the town of Mona. Officials didn't want anyone near the smoke, which was filled with sodium azide.
You're going to have to get back on the freeway up here north and go back to Santa Quinn because of this hazardous cloud right here you see.
We're taking precautions. As long as you're out of the plume or the smoke, you're not going to have the material get on you or inside your body. And so that's what we're doing, is we're making sure that we don't want that little animal getting inside us and start to build its little nest and causing problems.
At nearby Mona Elementary, teacher Emily Jones tried to calm the students down by singing songs and making happy talk.
That doesn't mean that we're in any danger yet. We just have to take precautions. So everybody put a smile on your face and just think we get to go home early. Yay!
But the look on some of their faces clearly showed that they realized this was no ordinary fire drill. What have you heard?
I've heard that there's some kind of a chemical spill up on the highway.
And parents showed signs of panic, especially when their child was not found at the school.
We're just concerned about finding our son and what bus he's on and which way they went.
Do you know where they're at?
I don't. We're going to go try and find him right now.
All over the town of Mona, authorities could be seen racing from house to house, knocking on doors.
Hello? Hey, we need you to evacuate your home now. We've had a hazardous spill and the wind is blowing it this way.
Parents grabbed their children. There was little time to grab anything else. Nearly 2,000 residents left town, not sure when they'd return. Marcos Ortiz, 2 News, near Mona.
Now tonight we can show you what sodium azide looks like. This is it's a powdery substance in this bottle, and like I said before, it's used to deploy airbags.
And we don't want to open it because if you breathe it, it can be harmful, and if you get it on your skin, it can be harmful. Harmful also when it comes in contact with water. Here's what sodium azide can do. The State Department of Environmental Quality told 2 News today, if you breathe it, you can get headaches, fever, chills, or it could lower your blood pressure. Prolonged exposure can be fatal. But I asked the state today, if someone is a mile away, how great is the danger? And there have been, as we mentioned, evacuations. The answer was, you'll be okay. It shouldn't harm you if you're that far away. Water on sodium azide can intensify the harmful fumes, so teams in Mona don't need any more rain right now. Now, because of the potential danger from the accident, many people who live around Mona are spending the night away from their homes. 2 News' Karen Enquist is in Nephi with some of the people who evacuated their homes. And Karen, how are they doing now?
Well, Brian, most of the people are going to bed now. There are about 30 people staying here at this school. Everyone else found homes either through the LDS church or staying with friends and family. But it's clear no one's going back into Mona tonight, this after what has already been a very long day for these people.
We're just out doing our daily job, chores, and they called on the phone and said we need to get out, and then one of the neighbors came and told us, so we got out.
Forrest and Lemoyne Stringham thought they'd only be gone a few hours. Now they wish they'd taken more than just their jackets.
I had a baby quilt on. I was going to tie and get it done today. Look at all the help I'd have had getting that done.
Instead, they've been sitting in the Juab High School cafeteria for hours with their neighbors, the Nielsens. They saw the tanker fire but didn't know it would force them from their home.
It was really a large fire and a lot of smoke coming from it. But the smoke was up next to the mountain, and so we didn't think anything about it.
We went by past a lot of highway patrolmen, policemen, ambulance, and nobody stopped us. We went home.
But like hundreds of other Mona residents, they evacuated around noon.
This guy's eating up the horses.
School children were bused to Nephi, where teachers tried hard to keep them busy.
They brought in coloring books, and we have given them cookies and milk and just anything to keep them busy pretty well. Paper, just anything.
Red Cross volunteers weren't the only ones working late. The Juab High School lunch ladies rustled up some dinner for the evacuees.
No one told us we had to. We just understood that that's just part of our job, is to fix for people in emergencies. So
Not a lot for the evacuees to do here. Joab High School let them into the girls' basketball game tonight for free. Other than that, they've just been visiting with neighbors, all of them wondering when they're going to get to go home. Brian?
Only 2 people hurt in this accident. The truck driver who suffered minor injuries and a passerby both went to a hospital in Nephi and were treated. This whole accident has cleared out an entire town. News specialist Bob Walls is here to tell us more about that, Bob.
Well, that's right, Mark. There are 1,800 people that live in Mona, but not tonight. The town is empty. The people are either staying with friends or making new friends at the Red Cross Center. Now, some of the people who came into the evacuation center tonight felt lightheaded, one of the symptoms of the toxic smoke, but there were no serious injuries. Hundreds of children took an unscheduled field trip to Nephi when police evacuated Mona Elementary School. The kids colored and watched the Pocahontas and waited for their parents to come and find them. James Nielsen was working on his farm when his neighbors told him he could die if he stayed. He says he's glad he left, but says he's afraid what he might find when he gets back home.
Well, I'd like to go home and feed my livestock.
Now, if it's dangerous to humans, are you concerned about your livestock?
Well, it's some concern. I don't know it'd be too bad. They told me that cats and dogs and stuff, those small ones, might not make it.
Now, we have had no reports of any livestock damage, but it's really too soon to tell. Also, no reports of any serious injury to any of the residents of the town of Mona. But if you're concerned about any family members, there's a couple of numbers that you can call to find out information.
Now, although this stretch of freeway, I-15, remains closed in both directions, the Utah Highway Patrol has made it a little more palatable for the traveling public, basically using the same detours now for both north and south traffic, using the old Mona Road, which is right next to the I-15 freeway here, between Nephi and Mona. Sounds complicated, but it's really not for the travelers once they get out here. But it has been complicated for the last couple days for a lot of people who live in and around Mona. News specialist Bob Walls is here to talk about the evacuees.
Well, Mark, these people were ordered to leave their home by the police under threat of a chemical toxic cloud. It sounds like the plot from a movie, but it was reality here in Mona, a reality that turned into a very long night.
I like it. I don't care. It's not that bad.
About 40 people ended up sleeping at Joab High School in Nephi last night. The unscheduled visitors ate well and boosted attendance at the girls' varsity basketball game.
There was a lot of camaraderie, and of course this community absorbed most of the people, and it was just really a good, as positive as it could be in this situation.
When the fire finally went out and the toxic air cleared, police let Herman Young go home and check on his livestock.
We just tried to come, and the police officer said, "You live in Mona?" "Yes." "Go on home."
Everything in Mona looks pretty much like it did before they left, except Lorna Young says the experience of fleeing her home in a panic has changed the way she looks at it.
Oh, you just take your house for granted, I guess. This is something that always happens to somebody else and not to you, and this makes you very appreciative and very grateful for what you have. A little town like Mona, it never happened, you know, but it did this time.
Now, a lot of the people who stayed in Nephi stayed with family and friends. Others stayed with complete strangers, and they say they'd like to thank those people who graciously took them into their homes. Bruce?
All right, thank you, Bob Walls. Another truck carrying hazardous material overturned this morning along the alternate route to I-15. This truck carrying 7 tons of sulfur dioxide flipped over onto its side when the driver overcorrected on a curve. Highway patrol troopers originally feared that a canister under the truck may have leaked, so they evacuated 20 homes. Investigators, however, found no sign of leakage and allowed residents to return. The truck was also carrying 3,500 pounds of nitric acid.
The trucking industry is drawing the public's ire after 3 accidents in 3 days snarled traffic, shut down freeways, and forced people from their homes. News specialist Nadine Wimmer has reaction now from behind the wheel.
Everybody thinks it's our fault that this happens, but it's not, because we are safety.
With his 80,000-pound load behind him, Guy Mullery feels like he's driving into a war zone. Truckers versus citizens. The recent run of serious accidents has heightened that antagonism.
We got stress of driving a truck with all that weight behind us, and then we got to watch everybody else.
Other truckers agree they're an easy target, but think other drivers on the road are also to blame.
A lot of the problems don't come from the trucks, the truck drivers and stuff.
The main thing that people like to do is somehow they like to cut you off.
Truckers point out they can't maneuver as quickly as cars darting around them.
Truckers liken some of these loads to a half-empty bottle of soda pop. With all this liquid jostling around inside, the bottle, like their load, shifts around a lot and is hard to control.
It's extremely difficult to come to an emergency stop, because what happens is when you hit the brakes, the fluid is, all of it is pushing forward.
In fact, some drivers say traffic hassles and government regulations on hauling hazardous materials have become so overbearing, handling these kinds of loads just isn't worth the trouble.
I won't even touch it anymore. Anytime that you run hazmat materials or whatever, it's just like a magnet to the highway patrol.
Truckers think they're not the only ones who should work to keep big rigs safe on the highways. It's a responsibility shared by all drivers. Nadine Wimmer, KSL News, Salt Lake City.
According to the Department of Transportation, 11,000 commercial trucks go through Utah's ports of entry every 48 hours. 1 in 5 carries hazardous materials.
It's been just 2 days now since the FBI asked for the public's help in solving the Olympic bombing